It's finally here. Let's take a look. So the first thing I will say about this is the box art is glorious. I would like to credit the artist, but Games Workshop has a habit of not putting the artist's name on names on things these days. But it's absolutely superb. Let's get into it. So, literally taking the cellophane off now. I cannot wait. So, here we go. So, the first thing we've got are many sprues. It is Games Workshop after all. So, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 big sprues of monsters and baddies. The monsters in this look pretty incredible. There are a lot of really thin pieces on this, and I'm going to have to be careful when clipping things from the sprue that I don't end up breaking anything. There are a lot of thin parts on these, but the sculpts are just glorious. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the big ones of beasties, and one more small one for remember all the names. Raudakar the wolf. He gets his own little one, and 2 for the heroes. So the heroes, as you can see, comes in this really light plastic. I assume that's just so that if you wanted to just build the game and play it out the box without painting anything, that it's going to be really easy to identify which the hero models are and which the enemy models are. It's fine, so let's pop them to one side. Little protective sheet in between, and it's got a kind of, only on one side, it's got a kind of print on this side, which that might come in handy for photographing some of the models once they're painted. Many bases, of course. Many dice. Interested to see what some of the more unusual dice here. I mean, they're like D10s and D8s, but they've got sort of some blank sides and some sides with their own symbols on. So interested to see how they factor into things. Looks like, see, I remember from the last Warhammer Quest game I played was Warhammer Quest. I skipped Silver Tower, and I didn't get any of the Age of Sigmar ones, and I've not played Blackstone Fortress either because I'm more of a fantasy player. But from old Warhammer Quest, these look to be like the events and treasure cards, and the cards for some of the big bads as well. Actually, the character cards will be in there also. We have somewhat packaged together. What have we got here? So, books, rule book, quest book, a sealed envelope, Ulfin Khan in Peril Envelope. Do not open until the final assault decapitation journey has been completed. So, if you've played any games like Pandemic Legacy, there are elements of that game that are basically one and done. So I'm guessing this is something like that. So that's exciting. Just like a small sort of nod to those kind of games. That's cool. Looks like this is build instructions for everything. Yep. An advert for the Cursed City novel with on one side with a nice copy of that beautiful box art on the other. I have to try and find out the name of the artist for that because I feel bad that they're not properly credited. Oh! Some errata. Must be something wrong with the build instructions for this guy in the original book. Or maybe they didn't include it, but okay. See, we've got errata already. And that is it for the books. Ah, no. Wait a second. War Scrolls. So these are the rules on how to use the models from this box in Age of Sigmar. Knowing what my favourite game is, I would have liked them to have done this with a double-sided copy of that artwork. That's nice. I would have liked them to have done this for Warcry. I know they did the campaign, but it only includes the Kasagi Night Guard, and the others are just the same as skeletons and zombies from Age of Sigmar anyway. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how these work. I've heard they're not too exciting for Age of Sigmar. Like, it's a difficult balance when it comes to stuff like this because they can't really make them too good because then you sort of end up with these game-breaking units sort of trapped behind the paywall of a sub-game like Warhammer Quest. But then it's whether you make them too underwhelming or not that nobody's going to bother taking them. So I'm not sure. I'm not, despite the amount of models I've got, I'm not a big Age of Sigmar player. I'd like to get into it more, but my friend group is more open to skirmish games like Warcry, so that's what I tend to play. Nice. Just seeing what factions they go with. The Ogre's actually Cities of Sigmar, so that'll be interesting. Something to look over, and then I think finally we have yes, the tokens and the game board pieces. Right, let's have a look. So, another thing that really drew me to this game, like the other Warhammer Quest games look good, but I don't know what specifically it is, but there was something about this that gave me a feeling similar to looking at the first Warhammer Quest game when that was previewed in White Dwarf all those years ago. Something about the game tiles on this just said Warhammer Quest to me, / Hero Quest, because that was really my first introduction to models, miniatures and wargaming was through Hero Quest, and Warhammer Quest is basically an evolution of that. And just something about these game tiles over some of the other Warhammer Quest games they've brought out just gave me that, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but it just gave me that same feeling looking at them. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of mixed tiles and tokens, and one big sheet of tokens here. Looks like measuring, including a measuring stick here, I think. Interesting. This I believe is the day and night cycle mechanic that's used in this game. So that will build some kind of clock, I think. Interesting. So I'm going to have a little read through the rules, and I will pop back with my first thoughts very shortly. Okay, I've had a brief scan through the rules. Not enough to say I've got a good grasp on the game, but enough to talk about some things that I like about it, some things I find interesting. Now, as I said before, I've not played Blackstone Fortress. I've not played any of the other Age of Sigmar Warhammer Quest games. So if I talk about something as if it's new, that's because it's new to me. If it's in one of those other games and I'm wrong, then that's fine. Just let me know in the comments. There are a few mechanics that, from my perspective, seem to come from or be similar to mechanics in other games that I like. So, for example, the heroes and the villains, they have two sides to their card. So there's the standard side and an inspired side, which is very similar to a mechanic in my brain stopped. Underworlds, Shadespire. The two-sided card mechanic seems similar to that, and the bad guys have it as well. So they have a standard side and an empowered side where their stats are somewhat boosted. Interesting. And the other thing on the characters cards is the activation dice pool. So basically at the start of your turn, it seems like you roll 4 dice and you put them in these squares here, and they are you spend those dice to do actions and attacks, which reminds me of the Warcry mechanic for ability dice, having a dice pool from which to spend from. I think that's a cool mechanic. This piece that I showed you before, that I thought would keep track of the day and night cycle, it does keep track of that, but it actually keeps track of a whole bunch of other things as well. So this is the Sky Vessel board. The Caradon Overlords guy, he's kind of a sky captain, and I think you embark on your missions from a sky vessel, and this keeps track of a bunch of different things: quest progress, day and night cycle, something called destiny dice, which go in here, which are, if I've read the rules correctly, that's an extra pool of dice that your heroes can draw from, in addition to their activation dice. So it's like a shared resource between your party. So those shared resource mechanics are usually quite cool in a game where you've got to work out who needs it more, and I think that's about all I can say on the mechanics of the game without getting stuck in there and having a proper read through and actually play testing some of it. The monster AI seems okay. Again, I'd have to test it to see how well that plays out. The campaign looks pretty expansive. Looks like there's going to be a lot to do with this box, which is always good when you spend quite a lot of money on a box. You want to know you're going to be playing it for a while. There's some really nice background fluff on the city and all the characters. Each of the heroes gets a couple of paragraphs of background story, and they're all interesting and dynamic in their own ways. I think that's about as much as I can say about the game before having played it. I am really excited to try it out, and now that we are allowed to have some people in the garden again, I'm waiting for a nice day once I've got this all built and we can have a play. I'm really excited about the models in here for use in other games as well. Obviously all the undead stuff is going to be great for a Legions of Nagash warband for Warcry. The heroes, I think Glimscry here is going to make an excellent necromancer, or maybe even Torgillus here as well. Yeah, so looking forward to where I can use those models elsewhere, and really looking forward to painting some of these just absolutely gorgeous models. So yeah, that is my first thoughts on Cursed City. I will be doing a bunch of stuff building and painting these, so keep an eye out for that, and I will probably come back with some more thoughts once I've actually played the game. In the meantime, I'm going to go get stuck into this box and have a proper look at my own leisure. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.